First of all, I just want to say thank you for all of you guys. Not like you have much of a say, but because of you guys, we are able to do TreeHouse, which is incredible to me. For those of you who don't know, we've been around for 2 years now, and Charity is one of our very first students who has ever come to TreeHouse and walked in the doors. So Charity, just a little background, so you guys know she's 16 years old. She goes to SES, the zoo school, and she is very passionate about a lot of awesome things and has probably one of the coolest hearts I've ever seen, but walked into TreeHouse super, super broken. And so we wanted to give you guys the opportunity to hear a little bit about what she's been through, what she walked into, and kind of where she's at now. And I think it really relates to the story that we just read. So I'm going to turn it over to Charity now.
Oh, God, okay. Okay. I'm a little nervous, so bear with me. Okay. So I am a student leader now at TreeHouse, and I'm going to be sharing how I was lost and now I'm found. So it started off with my parents. My parents were never married. It was just more like a one-time thing, and that's kind of how I was created. Growing up, it was just me and my mom. I didn't have any siblings. We moved, is it still working? Okay. We moved a bunch, we moved to Bloomington, Minneapolis, all these other places because she didn't have a lot of money. And because of that, we had to keep moving, and school was really hard because I couldn't make any friends. I couldn't keep up with any of my friends. And it wasn't the best. I did have contact with my dad a couple of times. Sometimes I would spend the night there. Sometimes he would watch me. He wasn't really the best dad. He was an alcoholic, and he smoked a lot of pot. And I was around that as a kid, so I thought that was kind of normal. I didn't really know what to think of that. I was probably 4 or 5. Right around when I was 8 years old, my mom kindly, she got my dad out of my life, so I stopped seeing my dad completely. And at that point, she started developing a drinking habit. So she started getting into a lot of alcohol, and I was usually the one to help put her to bed. I had to help her go to the bathroom, and I had to watch her kind of crumble, and that was really hard to take as a kid. Also, growing up, because I didn't have a father in my life and because I was just with my mom, I developed all these insecurities, and I never really felt loved. I didn't really have a good relationship with my mom, so I didn't really know what love felt like from a parent, and I would get really jealous from my friends' parents every time I saw what their relationships were like. Again, school, I got bullied a lot because I didn't have any friends, and I kind of have a learning disability, and so I learn at a slower pace, and I get bullied a lot because of that. Over the years, my mom and I kept moving. She finally she met a man when I was, I think, 9 or 8, and ended up getting married to this guy, and his name is James, and he's the best dad in the world. They had a kid, and life changed at that point. So I didn't really know how to feel since, I said, I never had a dad, and it developed okay. It was pretty good. We ended up moving in with his parents, and that was fun. I felt so accepted, and I felt loved because I felt like it was an actual family, and that's how it should feel like. And again, his parents moved out and gave us their home to stay in. So when it was just me and my parents and my little sister, things kind of went downhill. I started growing up more, and I got into a lot of fights with my mom, a lot of arguments. Sometimes I got aggressive. She was still drinking a lot. And it just wasn't the best environment. We sometimes went to church, but we weren't consistent of it. So I never really knew who Jesus was. I never really understood it. I kind of thought it was like cheesy when I was around that time. Like I didn't really get the whole like thing, but I started getting into a lot of drama with friendships and boys. I was trying to find attention in the wrong places, and it started becoming a really bad habit. So like I would always go to like guys, or I would always go to like these different people that weren't good for me, and I was just trying to feel loved and accepted, and because I never got that from my parents, I started getting depressed and impulsive with it. So I started going to treatments, and yeah, it just wasn't the best. I ended up getting into a really toxic relationship with this boy, and I was 13 at the time, so I was still really immature, and like I didn't know how to handle things, and because I was still wanting that attention that I never got, I would always put that on this guy. And it lasted about almost 2 years. It was very controlling, really abusive, mentally, kind of physically. I put my whole identity in this guy, so even though it might not seem like a big deal, like if I broke up with him, like it might seem really dumb to be upset about it, but because I was so young and like he was my world at the time, it felt like when things were falling apart with him, I felt like I had no purpose. I ended up almost living with this guy. His family kind of took care of me more than my parents kind of did. He ended up, cheating. I got brokenhearted, and I had the strength to leave him at some point, and that was really hard. I kept questioning God. Like, I was taught by my mom, I was kind of taught that if I were to do something wrong, that God would be kind of disappointed, and that I'd have to keep apologizing. And I always thought, what could I have possibly done wrong to deserve this and this and this? And I'd always ask myself that question, every time I went to bed. And I didn't really understand. I just didn't understand anything at that point. Anyways, I found out about TreeHouse through a friend at treatment. I ended up just going with her just to check it out, what is TreeHouse? I didn't really know what TreeHouse was. And it turned out to be one of the best things that ever happened to me. I met amazing Sarah over here, and she's amazing, and she's a really great mentor. I learned about God, and I learned about things within myself and who I was. And it really changed my life because, especially how I viewed things in the world, it changed so much. And I'd have one-to-ones with her, so I'd go out with her and we'd go out and have coffee and get to talk about God. And that's when things really changed. I got more wiser, but I was still struggling with self-harm. I self-harmed a lot because I felt like it was a distraction. And I started drinking, I started smoking weed. As I saw my mom do that, I thought, okay, well, what if I start doing it? Would it make me happy? It makes her happy for those few moments. And so that's how I kind of got into that. Anyways, I got more wiser, got a knowledge, got higher in my faith. And that really changed me as a person. I'm not the person who I was those years ago. It's awesome. I wish I could explain it better, but I can't. TreeHouse was the place that I accepted God into my life, fully, and I fully understood it. And I started getting, images from God. My first image was, okay, well, it kind of all makes sense, but throughout my life, Jesus, I looked back and I just saw the stuff that he had put in my life, and it was adding up and adding up and adding up. And I feel like he put TreeHouse in my life for a reason. And I feel like the image I got was we're in this field and we're playing hide and seek. And he finally gets up to me and he's like, I found you. And that really touched me, because it's like, oh my goodness, like, you were here all along. So I might start crying. Anyways, I started getting more images from him. I started listening to him, because that's all it takes, is just to listen and have your ears open, and it's amazing from what you can get from God. And my heart started to like change. Like, I didn't like feel so selfish. I used to be really selfish. I used to always want to get like whatever I wanted. Like, I didn't really have a lot of discipline as a child. I want to like help people more. I want to like tap into other people's lives more. I feel not alone anymore, and it's just really cool. My relationship with my mom today is very different. There's still some rough patches, but I kind of realized with like Jesus, like, I had to be loving on my mom, and that's exactly what I have been doing, just to love on her, just to show her what love looks like, so I can be an example for my mom, because then she's able to understand what love is. So like, Jesus is using me to get to my mom, and that's so hard to do, because sometimes it's like really hard to love someone that you were mad at, who like wasn't there for you when they should have been there for you. But I'm completely over that, and like, I got over like my anger towards my dad for like not being there for me when I was young. I'm just really blessed that I have a really great family, and I continue, like, I bring my mom with me now every Sunday, and just trying to like get her into that, and just trying to like teach her and show her like, no, like, this is what Jesus is, like, this is who Jesus is. And yeah, it's really good. That's all I got. So.